Captain Lee Hyun stared at the view screen as his ship moved through the darkness between stars. The Wanderer's Edge had been traveling for 6 months now, far beyond any place humans had ever gone before. This was Earth's first real mission to explore the galaxy beyond their home system. "Captain, we're getting close to the target system," said Park Sola from her engineering station. Her hands moved quickly over the controls as she checked the ship's systems. Everything was working perfectly, but she still felt nervous. They were so far from home that if something went wrong, no one could help them. Kim Dae looked up from his communications desk. "Still no signals from this area, sir. It's completely quiet out here." He had been listening for any signs of alien life for weeks but heard nothing. The silence made him uncomfortable. In all their studies of space, scientists had expected to find other living beings somewhere in the galaxy. Dr. Choi Mira was busy studying the data from their long-range sensors. As the ship's expert on alien life, she hoped to find something interesting in this new system. "Captain, the third planet looks different from what we expected. It's not giving off any heat, but there are some strange shapes on the surface." Lee Hyun nodded and gave the order to move closer. As their ship approached the dead world, the crew saw something that made them all stop and stare. Huge buildings covered the planet's surface, but they were old and broken. These were not natural formations. Someone had built them long ago. "My God," whispered Kim Dae. There was a civilization here. The structures were massive, much larger than anything humans had ever built. They seemed to be made of some kind of dark metal that had survived whatever destroyed this world. Strange symbols covered every surface, carved deep into the alien metal. "Can we land?" asked Dr. Choi Mira. Her scientific mind was excited by this discovery, but something about the ruins made her feel afraid. "Yes, but carefully," replied Lee Hyun. "Park Sola, find us a safe place to set down near those buildings." As the Wanderer's Edge landed on the dead planet, none of the crew knew they were being watched. Far away in a different part of the galaxy, alien sensors had detected their ship. The beings who watched the screens could not believe what they were seeing. "Alert the High Command immediately," said the alien officer in charge of the monitoring station. His voice shook with fear. "Send the emergency code. They have returned." On their homeworld, the Corvani Empire received the message and went into immediate panic. High researcher Vex High ran through the halls of the Great Library, searching for the oldest books and records. What he found in those ancient texts made his blood run cold. Meanwhile, on the dead planet, the human crew put on their spacesuits and stepped outside. The air was poisonous and the temperature was far below freezing. They walked carefully toward the nearest building, their lights cutting through the darkness. The symbols on the walls were everywhere. Dr. Choi Mira took pictures of them while Kim Dae recorded everything. "These markings are incredibly old," she said. "This civilization has been dead for millions of years." As they explored deeper into the ruins, they found something that made them all stop. In a large chamber, the walls were covered with the same symbol repeated over and over again. It looked like a figure walking between stars, but there was something frightening about it. "Can you translate any of this?" Lee Hyun asked Dr. Choi Mira. She studied the symbols carefully. Her computer tried to find patterns in the alien writing. After several hours of work, she began to understand some basic meanings. What she found made her hands shake. "Captain, these aren't just random symbols. They're warnings. The same message appears everywhere." She paused and looked at her crewmates. "It says something like, 'Beware the silent ones who walk between worlds.'" Kim Dae felt a chill run down his spine. "Silent ones? What does that mean?" Dr. Choi Mira continued reading. "There's more. It talks about beings who could appear from nowhere and disappear just as quickly. The aliens who built this place were terrified of something." Park Sola checked her equipment readings. "The radiation levels here are strange. It's like something very powerful happened here, but a very long time ago." As the crew continued exploring, they found more chambers filled with the same warnings. Pictures carved into the wall showed great battles between the aliens who built this place, and mysterious figures that seemed to move through space without ships. "Look at this," said Kim Dae, pointing to a wall carving. "These figures look almost human." Dr. Choi Mira examined the carving closely. The mysterious beings in the pictures did have a human-like shape, but they were shown as creatures of terror and death. The aliens who made this were definitely afraid of whoever these beings were. High above them in space, alien ships had begun to gather. The Corvani Empire was not the only one who had detected the human ship. Across this part of the galaxy, Old emergency plans were being activated, plans that had waited for millions of years. Back on the dead planet, Lee Hyun made a decision. We need to take some of these symbols back to Earth. The scientists there need to see this. He looked around at the ancient ruins. This changes everything. We're not the first intelligent life in the galaxy, but we might be the only ones left, said Park Sola quietly. Dr. Choi Mira was still working on translating more of the alien writing. What she was learning made her more worried with each new symbol she understood. The warnings weren't just about mysterious beings. They were about beings who brought death wherever they went. As the crew prepared to return to their ship, none of them realized that their discovery had already been reported to dozens of alien civilizations. Emergency meetings were being held. Ancient weapons were being prepared. The galaxy was getting ready for war. The humans packed up their samples and recordings. They felt excited about their discovery, but also confused. Who were these silent ones that had frightened an entire civilization? And where had they gone? Captain, said Kim Dae as they walked back to their ship, do you think we'll find more ruins like this? Lee Hyun looked back at the dead city. I hope not. Whatever happened here, it was terrible. As the Wanderer's Edge lifted off from the dead world, the crew had no idea that they had just fulfilled an ancient prophecy. Across the galaxy, aliens were preparing for the return of the most feared beings in galactic history. They had no way of knowing that those feared beings were humanity itself. On the Corvani homeworld, High Researcher Vexai had not slept for 3 days. The ancient book spread across his desk told a story that terrified him. He read the same passages over and over, hoping he had made a mistake. But the words were clear, and they matched perfectly with what the monitoring stations had reported. The Void Stalkers return when the galaxy least expects them. He read aloud from a text that was older than his entire civilization. They move through space like death itself, appearing where no ship should be able to go. Vexai's assistant brought him more ancient records from the deepest vaults of the Imperial Library. These books had not been opened for thousands of years. The writing was so old that few beings in the Empire could still read it. Sir, the Imperial Council is meeting now. They want your report immediately, the assistant said nervously. Vexai gathered his materials and hurried to the council chamber. The most powerful beings in the Corvani Empire sat around a great table, their faces showing fear and anger. When Vexai entered, they all turned to look at him. Tell us what you have found, commanded the Emperor. Vexai activated a holographic display that showed the symbols and images from the ancient texts. Your Majesty, the ship our sensors detected matches exactly with the old descriptions. The technology signature, the movement patterns, everything fits the legends of the Void Stalkers. The council members looked at each other with growing alarm. These were beings who ruled over millions of worlds, but now they seemed like frightened children. According to our oldest records, the Void Stalkers destroyed every advanced civilization they encountered. They could travel between stars faster than any known technology allows. Their weapons could turn entire suns into ice. One council member stood up. But those are just stories. Ancient myths. Vexai shook his head. Sir, I have found these same stories in the records of 17 different civilizations. They all describe the same beings, the same technology, the same destruction. This cannot be coincidence. Meanwhile, far across space, the human ship Wanderer's Edge continued its journey home. Dr. Choi Mira had been working day and night to translate more of the alien symbols they had found. Her breakthrough came when she realized that many of the symbols were mathematical. Captain, I think I understand more of what these warnings say, she announced during the morning briefing. The crew gathered around her workstation as she displayed her translations. The ruins contained detailed records of encounters with beings they called different names, but they all mean the same thing. Those who walk in the void, the silent death, speakers of the dark tongue. Kim Dae looked at the translations. What exactly did these beings do? Dr. Choi Mira's face was pale. According to these records, they would appear suddenly in a system, sometimes just one ship, sometimes many. They moved in ways that seemed impossible. The aliens who wrote this could never predict where they would show up next. Were they conquerors? Asked Park Sola. That's the strange part, replied Dr. Choi Mira. The records don't describe them as trying to take over worlds or steal resources. They seem to be running from something. But wherever they went, destruction followed. Lee Hyun studied the data carefully. How long ago did this happen? The most recent records are from about 2 million years ago. Then suddenly all mentions of these beings disappear. It's like they just vanished from the galaxy. Back on Earth, Commander Yoon Ji-won was having problems of her own. The deep space monitoring stations had been picking up strange signals for the past week. The transmissions were coming from the same region where the Wanderer's Edge was exploring. The signals are definitely artificial, reported her communications officer, but they're using encryption methods we've never seen before. Commander Yoon Ji-won looked at the data streams flowing across her screens. How many different sources are transmitting? At least 50, sir, and the number is growing every hour. Dr. Nam Yoonji, Earth's leading expert on alien technology, had been brought in to study the intercepted signals. What she found made her immediately contact Commander Yoon Ji-won. Commander, these transmissions are not random. They follow specific patterns that suggest military coordination. Military coordination? You mean like battle plans? Dr. Nam Yoonji nodded grimly. Exactly like battle plans. Someone out there is organizing a major operation, and it's all focused on the area where Captain Lee Hyun's ship is operating. The Wanderer's Edge had no idea they were the center of so much attention. Kim Dae continued to monitor space around them, but he heard only the normal background noise of the universe. He had no way of knowing that dozens of alien fleets were tracking his ship from a safe distance. Dr. Choi Mira made another disturbing discovery as she worked through more of the alien texts. Captain, I found something else. These records mention that the mysterious beings could understand and speak any language perfectly. Almost instantly. That's impossible, said Park Sola. It takes years to learn a new language. Not for these beings, apparently. The aliens who wrote this were amazed and terrified by how quickly the Void Stalkers could communicate with them. Lee Hyun felt a chill run down his spine. What else did they say about these beings? Dr. Choi Mira hesitated before answering. They said the Void Stalkers looked similar to many species in the galaxy, but there was something different about them. Something that made it clear they didn't belong to this time or place. On the Corvani homeworld, the Imperial Council had made their decision. Emergency messages were being sent to every major power in the galaxy. The message was simple but terrifying. The Void Stalkers have returned. Prepare for the end times. Vexhai watched the communications being sent and felt sick to his stomach. He had spent his life studying ancient history, never thinking it would become important again. Now his research was about to start the largest war the galaxy had ever seen. The alien fleets began moving into position, maintaining careful distances from the human ship. Their commanders had read the same ancient texts. They knew that getting too close to a Void Stalker ship was the same as committing suicide. Admiral Kethmore of the Corvani Navy studied the tactical displays showing the human ship's movement. How many ships do we have in the area now? 47, sir, with more arriving every day. The other species are sending their fleets too. Admiral Kethmore had fought in many wars, but he had never been this frightened. Keep all ships at maximum safe distance. If the legends are true, these beings can destroy our entire fleet without warning. Aboard the Wanderer's Edge, the crew continued their work, unaware that they had become the most feared beings in the galaxy. They were excited about their discovery and eager to share it with Earth. They had no idea that their return home would be seen as the beginning of a galactic apocalypse. Dr. Choi Mira continued translating, finding more disturbing details about the mysterious Void Stalkers. But she was beginning to notice something strange about the descriptions. The more she read, the more familiar these beings seemed. The Corvani Empire's greatest warship, Thunder of Ages, led a fleet of 200 vessels toward the area where the human ship had been detected. Admiral Kethmore stood on the bridge, watching the tactical displays with growing anxiety. He had never commanded so many ships before, and he prayed he would never have to use them. Sir, we have reports from the Zephyrian fleet, announced his communications officer. They have 30 ships in position. The hegemony forces are also ready. Admiral Kethmore nodded but did not feel relieved. According to the ancient texts, even 1,000 ships might not be enough to stop a single Void Stalker vessel. The legends spoke of entire fleets disappearing in moments, leaving no trace behind. Keep monitoring their ship's position. The moment they change course toward any inhabited system, we attack. On the human ship Wanderer's Edge, Kim Dae was puzzled by what his sensors were showing. Captain, I'm picking up a lot of ship signatures in this area, but they're staying very far away from us. Lee Hyun looked at the display. The dots representing alien ships formed a loose circle around their position, but none of them came closer than several light hours away. Are they following us? Yes, sir. Every time we change course, they adjust their positions to maintain the same distance. Dr. Choi Mira looked up from her translation work. Captain, I think I know why they're keeping their distance. The texts I've been reading describe specific protocols for dealing with void stalkers. Rule number 1, never get close to their ships. Park Sola checked her instruments. Why would they be afraid of getting close to us? We're just a small exploration ship. Because, said Dr. Choi Mira slowly, I think they believe we are the void stalkers. The crew stared at her in shock. Kim Dae was the first to speak. That's impossible. We're humans from Earth. We're not some ancient galactic destroyers. Dr. Choi Mira called up more of her translations on the main screen. Look at these descriptions. Beings who speak in strange tongues. Travelers who appear from unknown regions of space. Ships that move faster than should be possible. Lee Hyun studied the alien text. Those could describe any spacefaring species. But there's more, continued Dr. Choi Mira. Listen to this. They showed great curiosity about other species and their technologies. They asked many questions about our history and our ways of life. They seemed peaceful at first. A chill ran through the bridge. Park Sola spoke quietly. That sounds exactly like what we've been doing. On a hidden research station orbiting a dead star, scientist An Taemin was making his own discoveries. He had been studying quantum signatures left in space by the mysterious void stalkers, and what he found changed everything he thought he knew about galactic history. The quantum resonance patterns are incredible, he said to his research team. These beings weren't using normal space travel. They were manipulating time and space in ways we can barely understand. His assistant looked at the data. Sir, these readings suggest they were moving backward through time as well as forward through space. An Taemin stared at the numbers on his screen. That would explain why they seemed to appear from nowhere. They weren't coming from somewhere else in space. They were coming from somewhere else in time. Back on the Wanderer's Edge, Dr. Choi Mira continued her work with growing horror. The more she translated, the more the ancient descriptions matched humanity's own characteristics. The Void Stalkers were described as beings who could adapt to any environment, who were naturally aggressive but also capable of great cooperation. Captain, there's something else, she said, her voice shaking. The texts describe the Void Stalkers' home system. It's located in what they call the outer spiral arm of the galaxy. They describe a yellow star with a small blue world. Lee Hyun felt his blood run cold. That's Earth. It gets worse, continued Dr. Choi Mira. According to these records, the Void Stalkers claimed they came from a time when their entire galaxy was dying. They were trying to find a way to save it. Kim Dae looked at his captain. Sir, what if the aliens are right? What if we really are connected to these Void Stalkers somehow? Before Lee Hyun could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Park Sola quickly checked her systems. Captain, we have multiple ships approaching. They're still distant, but they're definitely moving toward us. On the Corvani flagship, Admiral Kethmore had received new orders from his government. The other alien species had agreed. The human ship had to be stopped before it could reach any inhabited system. The risk was too great. All ships prepare for engagement, he broadcast to the combined fleet. Remember the protocols. Long-range attacks only. Do not let them get close to you. High Researcher Vex High stood beside the Admiral, clutching an ancient book. Sir, the texts say that Void Stalkers never attack first. They always try to communicate before any fighting begins. That may have been true millions of years ago, replied Admiral Kethmore, but we cannot take that chance. Too many worlds depend on us. The human ship detected the approaching fleet. Kim Dae tried desperately to establish communication. This is the Earth vessel Wanderer's Edge. We are a peaceful exploration ship. Please respond. But the alien ships continued their approach. Their commanders had been trained since childhood to fear the return of the Void Stalkers. No amount of peaceful words could overcome millions of years of terror. Dr. Choi Mira made one final terrifying discovery in the ancient texts. Captain, the last records about the Void Stalkers. They don't say the beings were destroyed. They say the Void Stalkers left this galaxy voluntarily. They went back to their own time to face whatever was destroying their universe. Why would they leave? Asked Park Sola. Because they realized their presence here was making things worse. Every time they tried to help, They ended up causing more destruction and fear. Lee Hyun looked around at his crew. They were good people, explorers and scientists who wanted to learn about the universe. But somehow they had become the monsters in someone else's nightmare. "Sir," said Kim Dae urgently, "the alien fleet is powering weapons. I count over 300 ships now." The captain of the Wanderer's Edge faced an impossible situation. They were surrounded by alien forces who saw them as galactic destroyers. Any move they made would be interpreted as hostile. But staying still would only give the aliens time to bring more ships. "Can we outrun them?" Lee Hyun asked Park Sola. "Our engines are faster than anything I'm seeing on sensors. But sir, if we run, they'll think we're planning to attack some other system." Dr. Choi Mira looked at her translations one more time. "Captain, there might be another way." The text mentioned that the original Void Stalkers tried to share information with the other species. They tried to warn them about the danger that was coming. What danger? Something that was destroying entire galaxies. The Void Stalkers weren't the real enemy. They were trying to save everyone from something much worse. As the alien fleet moved into attack formation, the crew of the Wanderer's Edge realized they were about to repeat a tragedy that had happened millions of years ago. Unless they could find a way to break the cycle of fear and misunderstanding, the galaxy would once again destroy its only hope for survival. In his hidden laboratory on the research station, An Taemin stared at his computer screen in disbelief. The quantum analysis he had been running for days was finally complete, and the results changed everything. He immediately contacted his team leader. "Dr. Yun, you need to see this right away. The quantum signatures from the ancient ruins. They're not from some unknown alien species." Dr. Yun Minji looked at the data An Taemin had compiled. "These readings are impossible. According to this, the quantum signatures match human DNA patterns." "That's not the strangest part," said An Taemin. "The timestamps on these signatures show they're from the future. Millions of years in the future." Dr. Yun Minji sat down heavily. "Are you telling me that the Void Stalkers were humans? Humans from our own future? It explains everything. Why they looked similar to other species. Why they could learn languages so quickly. Why they seemed to understand other civilizations so well. They were us, trying to come back and warn the galaxy about something terrible." Meanwhile, aboard the Wanderer's Edge, the situation was becoming more desperate by the hour. Captain Lee Hyun watched as more alien ships joined the fleet surrounding them. The number had grown to over 500 vessels from dozens of different species. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission," announced Kim Dae. "It's from the lead Corvani ship." "Put it through." The image of Admiral Kethmore appeared on the main screen. His face showed both determination and fear. "Vessel of the Void Stalkers, you will power down your engines and surrender immediately. Any movement toward an inhabited system will be considered an act of war." Lee Hyun stepped forward. "Admiral, I am Captain Lee Hyun of the Earthship Wanderer's Edge. We are explorers, not the beings you call Void Stalkers. We mean no harm to anyone." "Your lies will not work on us," replied Admiral Kethmore. "We have studied the ancient texts. We know what you are capable of. The galaxy will not fall to your kind again." Dr. Choi Mira quickly joined the captain at the communication station. "Admiral, please listen to us. We have been studying the same ancient records you have. We believe the original Void Stalkers were trying to help the galaxy, not destroy it." Admiral Kethmore's expression did not change. "Help? They destroyed entire civilizations wherever they went." "No, sir," said Dr. Choi Mira urgently. "They were refugees from a dying future. They came back in time to warn about a cosmic threat that will destroy everything unless we work together to stop it." On his flagship, Admiral Kethmore turned to High Researcher Vexhai. "Is this possible? Could the ancient texts have been wrong about the Void Stalkers' intentions?" Vexhai studied the data his team had been analyzing. "Sir, there are some inconsistencies in the historical records. The descriptions of destruction always came after the Void Stalkers left a system, not during their presence back on Earth." Commander Yoon Ji-won was coordinating with Dr. Nam Yoonji to understand the growing crisis. The alien transmissions they had been monitoring were becoming more frequent and more urgent. "Commander, I've managed to decode some of the alien communications," reported Dr. Nam Yoonji. "They're calling this the final war. They believe humanity represents an extinction-level threat to all galactic life." "How many alien species are involved?" "At least 30 major civilizations, and the number is growing. They're sharing historical data and coordinating their military forces. Commander Yoon Ji-won looked at the strategic displays. If this escalates to actual warfare, humanity won't survive. We have one ship out there against hundreds of alien fleets. Dr. Nam Yoonji activated another screen showing her analysis of the temporal anomalies. Commander, there's something else. The quantum disturbances we've been detecting throughout the galaxy suggest massive time displacement events occurred in the distant past. Someone was manipulating time on a scale we can barely imagine. Time manipulation? You mean time travel? More than that. Someone was trying to change the entire timeline of the galaxy. The energy required would be enormous, beyond anything our science can currently understand. On the alien research station, An Taemin was making even more shocking discoveries. The quantum traces show multiple timeline interventions. The future humans didn't just come back once. They made dozens of attempts to change history. Dr. Yun Minji studied the data. Each intervention left quantum scars in spacetime. That's what the ancient aliens were detecting. Not ships appearing from nowhere, but timeline changes creating ripple effects. It gets worse, said An Taemin. According to these readings, every intervention failed. Whatever threat the future humans were trying to prevent, they couldn't stop it. Each time they came back, they made the situation worse. Aboard the Wanderer's Edge, Park Sola was detecting something alarming in her sensor readings. Captain, long-range sensors are picking up a massive energy signature approaching this galactic region. It's still very distant, but it's huge. Dr. Choi Mira looked at the sensor data. How huge? The signature spans several light years. Whatever it is, it's not a ship or even a fleet. It's more like a wave of something moving through space. Lee Hyun felt pieces of the puzzle clicking together in his mind. Dr. Choi, what exactly were the future humans trying to warn the galaxy about? Dr. Choi Mira called up her translations again. The ancient texts mentioned something called the Dark Tide, or the Silent Death. It was described as a wave of nothingness that consumed entire star systems, leaving empty space behind. Kim Dae suddenly looked up from his communications station. Captain, that matches what I'm seeing in the alien transmissions I've been monitoring. They're not just afraid of us. They're also detecting something else approaching the galaxy. Something else? A massive dark matter wave. The alien scientists estimate it will reach this galaxy in less than 1,000 years. The pieces finally fell into place. The future humans had detected the approaching dark matter wave that would sterilize their galaxy. They had traveled back in time to warn the earlier civilizations and help them prepare. But their appearance had been so frightening to the primitive aliens that instead of cooperation, they had created fear and war. Dr. Choi Mira realized the horrible irony. The future humans kept coming back, trying different approaches to save the galaxy. But each time, the ancient aliens became more afraid. The stories grew more terrifying with each telling. And now we're here, said Lee Hyun quietly. The descendants of those future humans carrying the same mission, but lacking their knowledge and technology. Admiral Kethmore was facing the most difficult decision in galactic history. His science teams had confirmed that a dark matter wave was indeed approaching, just as the humans claimed. But could he trust beings that his people had feared for millions of years? Sir, said Vexai, if the humans are telling the truth, then we have been preparing to destroy our only hope for survival. The Admiral looked at the tactical displays showing his massive fleet surrounding the single human ship. And if they're lying, we may have already waited too long to stop them. On the Wanderer's Edge, Lee Hyun made a decision that would determine the fate of the galaxy. Open a channel to all the alien ships in the area. Sir, are you sure? Asked Kim Dae. It's time to break the cycle. Our future selves failed because they couldn't overcome the fear they had created. But we haven't created that fear yet. Maybe we can still change how this story ends. The fate of countless civilizations now hung in the balance, waiting to see if trust could overcome millions of years of terror. Captain Lee Hyun stood before the main communications array as his ship broadcast to hundreds of alien vessels surrounding them. This was humanity's one chance to avoid repeating the tragic cycle that had played out millions of years ago. To all alien ships in this area, this is Captain Lee Hyun of the Earth vessel Wanderer's Edge. I know you believe we are the beings your ancestors called Void Stalkers. I know you have feared this moment for millions of years. But I ask you to listen to what we have learned. On the Corvani flagship, Admiral Kethmore watched the transmission with his entire command staff. High Researcher Vexai stood beside him, holding the ancient texts that had guided their people's fears for so long. Lee Hyun continued his broadcast. We have studied the same ancient records that you have, but we have discovered something your ancestors did not understand. The beings they feared were not destroyers. They were us humans from millions of years in the future trying to save all life in the galaxy. Dr. Choi Mira joined the captain at the communications station. We have translated texts from 17 different ancient civilizations. They all tell the same story, but they missed the most important part. The Void Stalkers were not causing the destruction that followed them. They were trying to prevent it. She activated a holographic display that showed the quantum analysis data that An Taemin had discovered. These readings proved that the original Void Stalkers were time travelers. They came back from a future where a wave of dark matter had destroyed all life in the galaxy. Park Sola added her sensor data to the display. That same dark matter wave is approaching our galaxy right now. Our long-range sensors can detect it. Your scientists can confirm this. Admiral Kethmore turned to his science officer. Is this possible? Can you detect what they're describing? The science officer quickly ran sensor sweeps of the space beyond their galaxy. After several minutes, his face went pale. Sir, there is a massive dark matter formation approaching our galactic cluster. At its current speed, it will arrive in approximately 1,000 years. High researcher Vexhai suddenly understood. The timing matches perfectly with when the Void Stalkers first appeared in our ancient records. They were trying to give us 1,000 years to prepare. On the human ship, Kim Day was monitoring the alien communications channels. Captain, I'm detecting increased chatter among their fleets. Some of them are starting to believe us. But not all of the alien commanders were convinced. The hegemony fleet, led by Commander Zixtal, moved into an aggressive formation. This is obviously a deception. The Void Stalkers are known for their lies and tricks. We will not be fooled again. Lee Hyun saw the hegemony ships preparing to attack. All ships, please understand. If you destroy us now, you will be repeating the same mistake your ancestors made. The future humans kept coming back, trying different approaches to save the galaxy, but each time, fear prevented cooperation. Dr. Choi Mira accessed more of her translation data. The last records we found show that the future humans finally gave up trying to change the past. They returned to their own time to face the dark matter wave alone. That's why the Void Stalker sighting suddenly stopped 2 million years ago. On Earth, Commander Yoon Ji-won was coordinating with scientists around the world to verify the claims being made by the Wanderer's Edge crew. Dr. Nam Yoonji had been working with international teams to scan for the approaching dark matter wave. Commander, we've confirmed it, reported Dr. Nam Yoonji. Multiple observatories have detected the dark matter formation. It's exactly as the Wanderer's Edge described. We have roughly 1,000 years before it reaches us. Commander Yoon Ji-won immediately sent this data to the human ship. Captain Lee, transmit this confirmation to the alien fleets. They need to know this threat is real. The data from Earth's observatories was broadcast to all the alien ships. Science officers throughout the combined fleet began confirming the readings. The dark matter wave was real and it was coming for all of them. Admiral Kethmore faced the hardest decision of his life. Everything his people had been taught told him that the humans were lying, that this was some elaborate trap. But the scientific evidence was undeniable. High researcher, in your opinion, are the humans telling the truth? Vexhai looked at all the data they had collected. Sir, the quantum signatures match. The timeline matches. The threat they describe is real and approaching. If we destroy them now, we may be condemning our galaxy to extinction. Commander Zixtal of the Hegemony Fleet was not convinced. Even if the dark matter wave is real, how do we know the humans can help us stop it? The future humans failed. What makes these primitive humans think they can succeed? Lee Hyun heard this challenge over the communications channel. Commander, you're right. The future humans failed because they tried to solve this problem alone. But we don't have to repeat their mistake. We have something they didn't have. Time to build trust and cooperation between our species. Dr. Choi Mira added, the ancient records show that each time the future humans appeared, they were more desperate and more advanced. They had become something that frightened other species. But we are still at the beginning of our development. We can grow and change together. Park Sola broadcast detailed technical specifications from their ship. We're sharing all our technology data with you. Our engines, our computers, our weapon systems. This is not the action of conquerors. This is what allies do. Slowly, ship by ship, The alien fleet began to stand down from attack formation. The evidence was too strong to ignore. The approaching dark matter wave was detected by sensors throughout the galaxy. Ancient quantum signatures confirmed that time travelers had indeed visited their ancestors. Admiral Kethmore was the first to make the leap of faith. "Human ship, this is Admiral Kethmore of the Corvani Empire. We are willing to discuss cooperation against this threat." Other fleet commanders followed his lead. Within hours, representatives from 30 different species were communicating directly with the human ship. For the first time in galactic history, multiple civilizations were working together instead of in fear. Li Haiyun found himself at the center of the largest diplomatic effort in the galaxy's history. "We propose the formation of a Galactic Defense Council. Every species contributes what they can. We share all our knowledge and technology." The response was immediate and positive. Species that had been enemies for thousands of years began sharing scientific data. Technologies that had been closely guarded secrets were offered freely for the common defense. Dr. Choi Mira worked with alien scientists to create translation protocols that would allow all species to communicate effectively. Kim Day coordinated the technical aspects of linking dozens of different computer systems. Park Sola shared humanity's engine technology, which proved to be more advanced than most alien designs. On Earth, Commander Yoon Ji-won established the first Galactic Defense Headquarters. Dr. Nam Yoonji led international teams in developing new technologies, specifically designed to deflect or destroy dark matter formations. That scientist An Taemin and Dr. Yoon Minji traveled to Earth to share their quantum analysis techniques with human researchers. Together, they began developing ways to manipulate space-time that might allow them to redirect the approaching wave. The transformation was remarkable. In just months, the galaxy went from preparing for war against humanity to working together for everyone's survival. Ancient fears were replaced by new hope. High researcher Vexhai found himself rewriting the history books. Instead of records of terror and destruction, he was documenting the beginning of galactic cooperation. The Voidstalkers were no longer monsters from the past, but heroes who had tried to save the future. Admiral Kethmore commanded the first truly multi-species fleet in galactic history. Ships from dozens of different civilizations worked together, sharing crews and technologies in ways that would have been unimaginable just months before. As the Wanderer's Edge finally began its journey home to Earth, it was escorted by ships from every major galactic civilization. Captain Li Hyun looked at his crew with pride. "We didn't just make first contact," he said. "We changed the entire future of the galaxy." Dr. Choi Mira smiled as she watched alien and human scientists working together on her screens. The future humans were right about one thing. Cooperation is the only way to survive what's coming. They just needed to find a way to make that cooperation possible. In observatories throughout the galaxy, scientists monitored the approaching dark matter wave. It was still centuries away, but now they were ready for it. Instead of facing extinction alone, every species in the galaxy would stand together. The ghosts of the past had finally found peace, and the living had found hope.